in our planning, we sat down, SWAT lieutenants, bomb lieutenant. We started looking at events across the nation. There had been 2 other Draw the Profit type event. Well, Charlie Hebdo was first. Then there was another one in the Netherlands where it was the same. It was very creepy because it was just like this one. And a guy showed up and tried to kill the artist. But when we started doing our intel gathering, we realized pretty quick, hey, look, every time somebody does one of these Draw the Profit things, guys show up with AKs and start shooting people. So we need to be kind of prepared for that. And they're like, well, hey, do we have a chase car? Well, in case they come by, they shoot up and they drive away. Okay, these people are not going to drive away. They are going to stop, get out of the car. They're going to kill as many people as they can until we kill them. That's what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with Johnny Gangbanger. We're dealing with terrorists, and that's what they're going to do. Well, these guys pull up, and the guy just jumps out with an AK, starts shooting at him. The other guy gets out. They start shooting, and the SWAT guys roll up. They thought they may have devices. They thought the vehicle had devices. Last guy's moving around. They think he has some kind of device based on the suicide bomber training. Shoot that guy in the head. The cool thing about that is there's nothing better as an instructor. The best payback you can get is somebody comes back to you and says, hey, what you taught me, I used, and I was successful in a gunfight, or I was successful in some kind of SWAT operation, and hey, we remembered what you showed us in your debrief, and we used that, and we were successful. That's the best way.
You're listening to the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, brought to you by the Assist the Officer Foundation. Since 1999, the ATO has given assistance to the first responder community, and now we want to give a platform to hear their incredible stories. We also want to hear the stories of the many people that support us. Our community is small, but we're strong. We have differences. We don't always agree, and we all make mistakes. But together we can grow, we can heal, and we can learn from those mistakes. And together we can bridge the divide.
You know, when you get around that dedicated, inspired leader, instructor that really excels at their craft, yeah, they make you better.
Think of one man.
Okay. That's why I'm so excited about our guest today. His leadership and instruction have been so impactful for countless police officers. He single-handedly, literally, made these officers more proficient with their weapon system. He's a United States military graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Engineering. After his service in the Army, he brought that leadership training to Garland Police Department, where he's dedicated the last 29 years. 26 of those years have been in some kind of SWAT capacity, whether it be operator, team leader, and commander. And Garland SWAT is talented, and I think that is due to his guidance, his work ethic, his training, and his leadership. He's a Medal of Valor recipient for Garland PD. He just completed his Master of Arts in Homeland Security Counterterrorism from American Military University.
Sounds like him.
So today, we're here with Josh, and of course, all of you out there listening, supporting the ATO Bridging the Divide podcast. Please welcome, it's an honor to have him in the city of Dallas, Lieutenant Dan Colasanto. Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan. So for the record, Dan, over the years, your name is one of those that's been abused right and left. There's S's added where there's not supposed to be S's. It's gone from many different dialects to where it's like, I don't even know what Dan is anymore. So for the record, give us your last name.
Colasanto.
There.
It's Italian.
I hope you guys heard that. Don't let me hear any more S's on the last part of his name. Dan, thanks for coming on.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, just like Misty said, your training, your vast training that you've trained so many people. Right now, you hold a seat with the TTPOA as a vice president, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's very fitting for you. And of course, Misty's known you longer than I, but I met you in 2006 as a brand new SWAT officer going to a advanced rifle and pistol class. Had myself a new SIG. Blame the SIG for the way I shot, and you were just so kind and smiled and said, "That's fine, we'll make it better." Right?
That's it.
It's pretty common. But since then, I've had a great relationship with you. I know Misty has, and many other teams and many other officers, not just officers, but military personnel. You used to be an adjunct instructor with Mid-South.
Yep.
Correct? So, and I can't say enough good things about you.
Well, thank you.
I just have to know this because he is a commander. SWAT competitions. Are they worth the time and the effort?
Yes. I didn't do many of the competitions. I did a few of them back when I was way younger. Did TTPOA a couple times. Did the SWAT roundup a couple times. And there's, from training, you can't. It's hard to induce the stress that's going to be there when these critical incidents happen. So one of the best things you can do is the competition, because you have the time stress, you have people watching you, you're performing in front of your peers, which is huge because a lot of people don't do that for whatever reason. I think it's ridiculous myself. I mean, you guys just put on you had a 2-gun match for one of your officers, and went out there and was talking to several of the guys like, hey, how come everybody's not out here? And the common thread is, well, nobody wants to come out here and kind of. I say, like, show your ass in front of these people. And of course, I don't care. They videoed me, and Brandon, one of our guys, put it out there. And of course, I said, hey, there's not a lot of running here, is there? And of course, the first event, you're down at the 100, and then you got to jump up in quotes, because I didn't jump anywhere. It was really funny watching me try to get up off the ground and then run down to the 50. But that's where you hone your skills. You're on the clock. You got people watching. I mean, that's probably, I say, some of the closest stress you're going to get. I mean, as far as preparing for a critical incident. I mean, right. We can't mimic that. There's nothing. I mean, you can't have people shooting at you while you do it. But
I thought you guys had that at the Garland SWAT school. That was a difference. That's the cutting line there. That not only do they run you into the ground up and down, but they shoot at you too.
Real, see what's going to happen. Yeah. So I mean, and competition's a good thing. There's a lot of Mike Pannone and some of the other guys, say that that's a good thing to do. They definitely endorse that, and it is. You should go out there. You should compete. And then some guys try to use the excuse, well, you're training for competition. You're not training for real. If you don't know the difference, then you got bigger problems. I mean, there's a big difference between, hey, I'm shooting at paper for competition. I'm trying to hone my skills, and hey, I'm in a real life gunfight. There's a huge difference. So,
I think the ego is what kind of centers around all of that, and that's
absolutely
big definer of those who show up and who don't. And that's one thing that I know I learned early on through your training, was that you need not have an ego whatsoever, even for the lonely rookie SWAT guy that couldn't shoot worth shit.
Talking about the 357 versus the 9mm.
Yeah, the 357 versus the 9. We've gone through that. Glock versus SIG. I don't know. Maybe my safety's on the wrong side for a lefty, or all.
Hey,
you
don't, but you don't know what you don't know.
That's true. That's very true. What started you down this path, Dan? I mean, you've obviously been involved in SWAT as a form of a commander or a team leader for many years, pretty much your whole career, for 26 years, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what started you down this path?
So I was fortunate enough. I graduated from United States Military Academy. Go Army, beat Navy. And that's where I went when I was 17. My mom had to sign the papers to get me in because I went younger. So that's where I really learned about leadership. My first real leadership experience was as the head minute caller. So in summer training, Beast Barracks they call it. You have this. Everybody has a job. So my job was the head minute caller. So in the barracks, there's 3 clocks on the wall spread out down the hallway, and you have a person assigned to each clock, and their job is at 10 minutes. They come out and they say, "Sir, there's 10 minutes until assembly for lunch formation. Uniform is." They say the uniform menu for lunch is, and they tell you the menu. 10 minutes, sir. Back off they go. Well, they do that 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 1's the last one. So as a head minute caller, not knowing anything really about leadership, I figured, well, my job's easy. I'm just in charge. I don't really have to do anything. That was a huge mistake. Huge mistake on my part. Because what happens is, as the head minute caller, you're supposed to make sure, unbeknownst to me, that they're all there. Well, I figured, well, they knew they were supposed to be there, so I shouldn't have to check on them, right? You have a job, you're going to show up, and that's it. Well, that's not what happened. So one person didn't show up because they were getting jacked up by a firstie. So my job was my job was supposed to be to take their spot, which I didn't know that because I figured they were all there. So it was just that whole first thing was just a shit show, and I got just reamed and learned. Okay, hey, you're responsible for what goes right and what goes wrong. Really, what goes wrong, not what goes right. If it goes right, your guys or your girls did it. You just, you're just kind of putting the pieces there. But you're supposed to be able to take their spot. You should be able to fill in. You're supposed to make sure they're there and they're doing it right. And if they're not doing it right, then you need to be able to fill in. So it was a significant emotional event for me, and I never forgot it. So after that, then you knew, okay, hey, if I take care of my people, they're going to do their job right. I just check on them, make sure they have the stuff that they need, and just get out of the way and just be ready to fill in as needed. The firearms stuff came to me when I got hired. I got hired early, so my job was to put general order books together and stuff like that. And I remember the firearms instructor for our police department was TJ Pilling, and I was out in the hallway, and he came out through the double doors with black BDU pants, his gun belt, and his polo shirt said firearms instructor, and I'm like, I want to be like that guy. So I would go out. Back then, you had open shoot Mondays and Tuesdays. So we were allotted 50 rounds of ammo. So I'd go out to the range and I'd shoot. I'd reload. I'd bring my own ammo. And then one day I shot my 50, and I remember kind of going up to him as, meek little rookie, and goes, sir, I shot my 50, but maybe I can shoot the Chief's 50 because, he don't come out here. And he looked at me and he said, Junior, there's a whole box of 40 on that cart over there. You just hippity hop on down there and you just shoot till you're just tired of shooting. Don't you worry about it. I'm like, yes, sir. So, and that's what I did. So I wasn't a very good shot. I was probably average in the academy, and I didn't like that. So that's what I did. I would stand down there. It was my day off, so I would stay down there, and I'd stay all day. He'd have to kick me out, and I would practice reloads and shooting all day long. So that's just something that I recognize, hey, I'm not good at this. I really do probably need to be good at this, and I'm just going to work to get better. And then the instruction part, I felt like I was fortunate. I had a lot of good instructors. I got to go to Mid-South, and to me, you need to pass that on. This isn't something you just, I have this knowledge and I'm not telling anybody. That's ridiculous. So I felt like I kind of owed it, kind of paying it forward, if you want to call it that. So, hey, I need to give these people these knowledge. Not everybody gets to do what I got to do, but at least if I share it, hey, I can pass it on. Maybe not as good as some of these other guys, but they get the general idea.
How many, over the years, how many officers do you think, let's just say, well, not just SWAT officers, because the TTPOA has opened up to any police officer, majority SWAT that goes through those conferences or just the courses themselves, but every once in a while you get some others that come through there. How many do you think you have instructed?
Maybe thousands.
Yeah.
By this point, thousands. And the cool thing about that is there's nothing better as an instructor. The best payback you can get is somebody comes back to you and says, hey, what you taught me, I used, and I was successful in a gunfight, or I was successful in some kind of SWAT operation, and hey, we remembered what you showed us in your debrief, and we used that, and we were successful. That's the best payback that you can ever get from doing training, in my opinion, is people coming back saying they used what you told them, it worked, and they were successful. So I've had that happen to me a couple times, and it's an awesome feeling. There's nothing like it.
So I know you're a very humble individual. You're not going to pat yourself on the back, but you do realize, I'm sure you do, but you probably may not be told that all the time from this perspective. But you've really impacted the lives of many individuals, right? You prepared many officers to go out to face their demons on the street, whatever it may be. And a lot of these are SWAT officers who are involved in a lot of critical incidents already, whether it be a BP, a hazardous warrant, or whatever else come to them. That including the patrol officers that want to better themselves. I mean, I just, I want to say thank you because I know you impacted my career in SWAT, and just not that, just alone for firearms proficiency, but anything and everything else I did from that point forward. That first class I took with you, I took a lot from that. Of course, there's a lot of changes going on, as y'all know, when you get in there and you're the new SWAT guy and so on and so forth. You really want to suck it up. You can absorb a lot of stuff from a lot of people, but I want to personally thank you. But just to let you know, I mean, I don't know if you've ever thought about it from that perspective, but I guarantee you, Dan, you've impacted the lives of many individuals, whether it be from the professional or the personal level. As far as just being around you, you have an aura of you make your classes very fun. I've had a lot of instructors that are very arrogant and quite honest. They'll say it. I don't normally say things on it, but they're dicks, and you're just like, wow, this individual here, is willing to pass down the knowledge, just like you said. Not only just willing to give it to you, but giving it to you a different way, right? If you want to make someone correct themselves, it's a different teaching. I don't know the word what I'm looking for, Misty, but it's just you teach it a different way, right? You inspire people to do different things as opposed to someone going, you suck, get off that line, and you think you're this and you think you're that. I don't think I've heard you do that. I think I've heard you kindly remove some people from the line because maybe some errant rounds, but other than that, I can't say enough. And you, Misty.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an overwhelming experience as a female to walk in to a SWAT instruction
Ooh, I never
class.
thought of that.
It is overwhelming, and you don't want to be that girl, And so, you were humble, you were approachable, and your instruction made sense. And it was something that I could take with me and go work on my own. The skills that you present are very simple, basics that allowed me to be faster, especially transitioning from my rifle back to my pistol. And I'm so glad that was one of the very first classes I took. And so you hear a lot of people say, well, if you can't do it, you teach. Well,
I've heard that.
Yeah. And so my first class with you, we had an arrogant operator.
Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was trying to test Lieutenant Dan.
Oh.
I think he was implying that you're teaching because you can't do it. Well, Lieutenant Dan stepped up on the line and just nailed it, and it shut that up quickly. And so there's two parts to that. He can teach it, but he can display it with proficiency, and it's impressive. I'm so glad that even though you're Garland, that you have impacted so many of our SWAT guys. Thank you.
I remember that class. I know what you're talking about. and it's happened a couple times to me. There was one. It actually happened to be down at Mid-South with a Navy guy. And that's where I really learned the demo thing. A lot of instructors don't demo. And down there, then Mid-South, you're demoing in front of special ops guys. So, it's the kind of, I say the pressure's on, but you have to be able to perform. But I was always of the mindset of, okay, I'm telling you to do this. I'm a visual. Like, I got to see. If I see you do it, I can do that. If somebody just tells me, I don't do very well with that. So, and that's kind of what I took as far as my instruction was, hey, I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, this is how I do it, and this is why. You may not be able to do it. I'm a short, fat guy. You're a tall, skinny guy. You're a tall, skinny girl. You may have to do things a little bit different. That's okay. You're left-handed. I'm right-handed. There's different ways, but I'll show you those ways. I'll give you, I like this. My thing was always, hey, look, I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways. You pick which one works for you. I don't really care which one you pick. Just know the limitations of which one you're picking. And don't pick it because it's, I have limitations because this may be a little harder. Well, that's not really a good reason. If it's like, well, hey, I'm I shoot my pistol right-handed and my rifle left-handed, or vice versa. You have some things to work around, but they can be worked around. Not, because you're lazy and you just don't want to do it. That's not really a good reason.
Yeah.
So,
You touched on something earlier when we were talking about the people that don't understand the difference between the training and the reality, right? Some people, well, you train as you fight. Some people believe, well, this is not real world, so I'm not going to be real world. Well, as soon as we walk out the door as a police officer, you're in the real world.
Right.
Your mindset should go to red immediately as you walk out that door, anticipating something, especially if you're an individual that has a marked squad car at home or whatever it may be. But I do know that your training style provides a platform for thought that individuals can take from there, but also incorporate into the real world, right? I mean, your stuff is very realistic. It's created for that.
Yeah, if it in the range, you go to the range and you try something, right? You dry fire practice. I dry fire practice every day. Then you go to the range and you try it on the range. Okay, this is working. But the thing that comes to mind is a holster, right? I've had guys come out. They got their triple retention, Judge Dredd, the old Safari Land, 2 snaps, rocket, whatever.
Halfway down their leg.
Yeah, halfway down their leg. And, I'm like, okay, have you practiced with that? Well, no, well, you better practice with it first before you put it on and go out on the street with it. And I had a guy, he came out to open shoot, bought the holster, thought it was like real easy, did like 3. I said, well, snap it all the way in. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay, well, then you're defeating the whole purpose of the holster if you're not snapping all 3 snaps. That's why it's a triple retention holster. And after half a day, he's like, okay, screw it. And he actually left the range, went back, sold it, and bought a different holster. I mean, so the stuff does translate. And if it doesn't translate, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. I mean, there's nothing like, at least with the firearm stuff, a lot of the stuff translates. It translates into the real deal, like you said. I mean, there's nothing I show you that's not going to translate. I mean, it's realistic stuff. It's going to work if you do it right, and you need to be prepared for it not working. The gun doesn't work. Okay, hey, well, malfunctions. Well, we practice those. Hey, one-hand shooting. Those things are realistic. Now, some things are just fun, like transitions. You practice transitions, and I've asked guys with a lot more experience than me, hey, have you ever seen that in real life? And there's maybe 1 or 2 times they've actually seen it. So maybe I don't need to spend as much time on that as I do, shooting, just regular, single shots, trigger control, and those kind of things, because you're probably going to do that more than you're probably going to do a transition. Same thing with a reload. If you think about it, I mean, I still practice reloads, but do you need to really practice for like 3 hours of reloads? I mean, if you think about it, in the real world, you got 16 rounds in your gun. If you shoot 16 rounds and have to reload and then shoot some more, 1 of 2 things is happening. 1, you're in a really, really bad situation, which means there's probably going to be more people there. Or 2, you just really suck at shooting and you're not hitting anything. Because if you shoot 16 rounds in the city of anywhere, you're responsible for those bullets. You better know where they're going. And if you don't, that's a whole nother thing. The quickest way to a new career is shooting something that's not supposed to be shot. So, you temper, and everybody likes to practice what they're good at, me, myself included. So you got to really do the stuff you're not good at, because that's why you're practicing. I mean, if I'm a great hitter in baseball, but I can't field, I don't need to just keep hitting. I need to probably work on my fielding. So.
And
Didn't John Wick shoot more than the 16 rounds?
That's John Wick.
Okay.
John Wick's, that's a whole nother story.
John Wick or Clint Eastwood?
If you'd asked me a few years ago, I'd have probably said Clint Eastwood, but I got to go with John Wick. John Wick, he's a badass. And he actually, if you watch, like, the gun runs dry, he actually does reloads. I'm not real big on his little center access relock stuff, but, I mean, he can shoot. And he actually trains. There's videos of him. He trains with Taron Butler. I mean, he can work the gun. So it's
He's come a long ways from Point Break.
Yeah,
Where
Johnny
he got
Utah.
punched in the
Yeah,
face.
where he
Punched in the face on the beach.
Yeah, and then the old chasing the guy and he twists his ankle and he
Oh,
just
yeah.
decides to shoot his gun up in the air for whatever reason. I'm like,
Anger.
you're a moron.
He obviously didn't go to your class.
Yeah,
so.
obviously not. No.
Hey, so for people that don't know you, but the ones that do, the ones that don't, you bring this intensity no matter what the situation is. I know we've worked with you guys in the past on some things. We know a lot of your caretakers over there in the SWAT. I know a lot of different Garland officers, but you are always very, not just intense, like all built, just the same intensity you bring to training is the same intensity you bring to the table for operations for your daily life. What gives you that? Where do you find that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I probably learned that at West Point. It's of course when I went, that was like back in the 80s. So I mean, you have the best way to describe that first year is everything you do is wrong, and there's at least 4 people there to tell you how wrong it is and how you need to do it a different way. And it was just, kind of ingrained in you, kind of like with the head minute caller thing. Hey, you're in charge. You need to be in charge. You need to make a decision. People are looking at you. You need to do something. Do something, even if it's wrong. I had a sergeant major once tell me, sir, if you do something, do it 100 miles an hour, because if you mess it up, sometimes people won't even notice. But do something. Don't just sit there and do nothing. So I think that was kind of the intensity, and I've always kind of been a student of leadership, and seeing like why, like how do they do it, like the practical application. I went to, some of you won't be surprised at this, I went to this ILEA class, and they had a leadership portion, and I was kind of excited, and the guy started talking about theory. This guy has a theory, and this guy has a theory, and of course, I kind of got a little agitated. I'm like, okay, hey, why do I care about a theory? I don't care about a theory, because if you're telling me it's a theory, then you're telling me it may or may not work. I said, why aren't we should be learning practical application. And the example I use is Joshua Chambers from Civil War. He was a school teacher, and he's a general. He's on Little Round Top, and for those that Civil War buffs, he leads a charge down Little Round Top, basically saves the day for the Union, and helps win the battle. The significant thing is he led a bayonet charge, and he's a school teacher. And the important thing is his guys followed him down the hill. So if you watch, there's different movies about, like if you watch Gettysburg, there's a good scene where he goes, hey, fix bayonets. And they're like, what? He says, hey, I said, fix bayonets, boys. Okay. And then he pulls out the sword and leads the charge. And the guys followed him. That's the important thing, is they followed him. I mean, if he was a jackass, they'd have been like, see you, Josh. Have a nice day. Things like that. And just leading from the front, I think you have to have, if you have the intensity, that's going to kind of bleed off to your troops. They're going to see that and they're going to, okay, he's intense. We need to be intense. Or, hey, he's nervous. And that's the other thing. You got to have that, I say, calmness. I kind of get excited sometimes, but, guys and girls can look at you and go, they're going to look at you and go, okay, is he like freaking out? Because if he's freaking out, that's a bad thing, right? So you got to at least have the air of calmness. Like, hey, I know what to do. I like movie quotes. If you've been in my classes, I use movies. U-571, where Harvey Keitel tells the dude, hey, you're the skipper now. And the skipper always knows what to do, even if he doesn't. The captain's a mighty and terrible thing. And you do. You never. I try to never say I don't know. I try not to, especially like, hey, what are we going to do? Man, I don't know. That's not. That's not a good thing to say. I don't know. If they go, hey, when are we getting our new guns? Man, I don't know. I can check. Well, that's different. But you're on an op. You better have some answers or have some ideas.
Listen to you talk about movies and leadership. What you were saying reminded me of a scene from Saving Private Ryan. I'm sure you've seen that.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever the medic got killed out there, and Tom Hanks, the captain, and he had to crawl over out of view, and he just broke down crying because he did not want his troops to see that pain and see that side, because it could be looked at as weakness. And he's the leader, and he had to lead them after that incident. Yep. That's what that reminded me. I'm a big movie buff too, so.
Oh yeah,
and U571.
There's a lot of lessons. There's a lot of lessons there, and that's one of them. I mean, that's a deal where, you know, he's got a crappy job there. Hey, you're taking your guys, you're putting your guys at risk, and you're saving this one kid. And a lot of times, you know, I look at my job as you're trying to shield your guys from the BS that comes from the top, right? You let them focus on the job, give them, you know, parameters, and let them do their job. That's one of the things that, you know, I try to take pride in is, hey, I delegate a lot of things, you know, especially in SWAT, you know, to younger guys. Hey, handle this. And you delegate, you give them the, you know, the resources they need, and you let them do it. And they'll surprise you. Sometimes they don't understand the mission, and sometimes you just go, hey, just because, I mean, like Saving Private Ryan, it's kind of hard to go, hey, we're going to put ourselves at risk and go get this one kid. You know, the line guy's like, screw that guy. But, you know, they don't understand the bigger picture. You know, I learned a long time ago, you got to think global. You can't think local. If you're thinking local, your people are going to start outsmarting you. You need to think global. Like, what are the bigger effects of what we're doing? And that's kind of it. You know, that guy's, you know, the sole surviving son. We got to go get that guy. That's the, and then the bottom line is, that's the mission. You don't have to like it. You just have to go do it. And they can't make you like it, and that's okay too. And we can talk about it, and you can, you know, hey, well, I don't think this is a good idea. Okay, well, you know what? Duly noted. Let's go. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think sometimes that kind of gets lost with some leaders. They try to, you know, the other thing is, if and I saw this on a meme, you know, if you wanted to be liked, you should sell ice cream, right? Don't be a leader, sell ice cream. You can't worry about that, because not everybody's gonna like you, not everybody's gonna agree with you. You know, I compare it to ordering pizza. Like, you order pizza. Well, what do you want on the pizza? Well, I want pepperoni. No, I don't like pepperoni. I want sausage. I want onions. Okay, look, you know, and if you've been to my classes at lunchtime and we've had to go, you know, send out for lunch, you'll know that you get a number one. And if you don't like the lettuce, you can take the lettuce off. You can take the tomato off, but we're getting number ones. It ain't Burger King. We're just getting you food. So, you know, it's just part of being in charge. And if you don't want to do that, then don't be in charge.
Yeah, I think you're fortunate. Just you as an individual, I think you kind of carried this. Obviously, you learned it at a very young age. I think part of it is just you and your demeanor, but I think a lot of times people get into leadership roles and they have no clue as to what they're getting themselves into, right? I look back when I promoted to a sergeant, and I'm sure there's people along the way that don't agree with half the stuff I've had them do, so on and so forth, but you just don't know when you get into that position how to adapt to that role. We provide training, but, you know, I think you learn your leadership roles and your style and so on and so forth.
Yeah, you know, and I've been to some of that leadership training, and it's more to make, my opinion of it was, a lot of it was more administrator driven than leadership driven. You know, when I was in the Army, I had a platoon sergeant, and one day I'm kind of hanging around, you know, as a new lieutenant, not really knowing what the hell I'm doing. Like you said, hey, I'm in charge, but what do I do? You know, and this guy was like the epitome of the platoon sergeant. If you looked up platoon sergeant in the dictionary, this guy's picture would be there. And finally, he just looked at me and he goes, "Lieutenant, why don't you go do some lieutenant shit?" And I'm like, "What is that? Tell me what that is. What am I supposed to do?" And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "CO calls you Dan, right?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "Okay. You need to fight for the guys. And sir, you need to fight until he calls you by your rank. When he calls you by your rank, then I suggest you stop, because you've gone as far as you can go and you're about to get yourself in trouble." Okay, got it. And I have taken that little piece of advice, that little nugget, with me my entire career, even now. So you push and you fight until they say lieutenant, and then you know, okay, I've gone about as far as I can go and I need to stop. But I mean, you learn, I mean, and it's not rocket science. It's really not. I mean, you're made your job is to take care of the people that you're in charge of. If you take care of them, they'll do this work. I mean, they'll do it. You just leave them alone, step in as needed. But I mean, they'll do the work. They're smart people. We have smart people doing this job. I mean, and if they do stupid things, then you tell them, hey, that's dumb. Don't do that. Do this. But you eating last. I mean, I learned that. That's one of the first things. That's hey, you eat last. Troops eat first, you eat last. You can drink coffee, but you can't eat. Eat last. And if there's no food left, guess what, Lieutenant? You don't eat. Okay, that's part of it. Not, hey, I go first, you go last. You learn. One of the things we did again in the Army, our colonel wanted us to eat in the mess hall, so he lowered the fee for us to eat in the mess hall. Well, there was a section where the officers ate, and there was a section where the troops ate. Well, I would always go sit where the troops ate. And I had this lieutenant come up to me, and he goes, hey, why don't you go in there and eat with the colonel? I go, the colonel doesn't want to eat with me. I go, he's got colonel stuff to do. I'm a lieutenant. We got nothing in common. Nothing. He's a colonel. We're like this. I said, but if he wants me to come eat with him, and he says, hey, Dan, come sit and eat with me, then I'm going to go eat with him. But if you want to know what's going on, you need to come eat in here, because people talk, because they don't care. They're going to talk in front of you, and you're going to hear what the problems are. If you want to know what's messed up, you go to the lowest ranking guy and you go, what's screwed up here? Because they got nobody to protect, and they'll tell you everything you need to know. But it's, the leadership training, sometimes it was geared more towards administrative stuff as opposed to leadership stuff, and there's a huge difference.
So, I'm sorry, Misty, go ahead.
I just want to know, you came out of West Point in the Army, tanks. Have you ever felt invincible? And then when did it change in your career?
Invincible. Ooh. In Desert Storm, we felt kind of invincible because we had, M1s, M1A1s, and nothing could touch us. So you're kind of sort of. I mean, something can always happen, but you're cruising around the desert at 60 miles an hour and 60 tons. It's pretty cool. But I don't know that you feel invincibles. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that. Other than that, I don't know that I've ever felt like, hey, nothing's going to happen to me. When I got shot on the drug raid back in '98, you realize pretty quick you're not invincible. I got shot twice, helmet in the chest, and then after that, you're just kind of you kind of have that. And I think everybody has it at some point in their career. You kind of have that little talk with God, like, hey, that was really close. And then you realize, okay, hey, this job is dangerous, but dangerous is kind of what makes it fun, right? That's why we do it, kind of, carry guns, drive cars fast. But then you realize, hey, when it's your time, and that's, it wasn't my time. And that was kind of the, I guess, understanding I got was, okay, hey, look, you got more stuff to do. Not telling you what that is. You'll figure it out, maybe. But it's not your time yet. So, I mean, it's just one of those things.
I think that'll parlay into something I wanted to touch on. 2015, 2016, 2014 to 2016 was a pretty rough years for law enforcement. Us here in the Metroplex, those that don't know, we had several critical incidents in what I would call a very short period of time. We had our headquarters attack, which was a pseudo-terrorist attack, individual upset with the police department over a child custody issue, shot up headquarters in the middle of the night, obviously knowing there's not many people there, didn't want to cause too much damage, or he could have left devices in the parking lot that actually went off, got in a chase with a armored van. That individual ended up losing his momentum with a .50 caliber round south of Dallas. We had obviously July 7th, but in the interim, and I know you've taught this, and I guess this comes into play as you as an individual that has been well-versed in many different things, whether it be military, everything you've submersed yourself into in the police department, the team leadership role, you promoting to lieutenant in 2010, which was 2010 or 11? 11, which I don't know, for all of us, were the ones that, that were there, and the ones that couldn't be, we were rooting you on, because it was great to see the Garland guys were so happy to know that now we've got a leader, a commander above us that's going to take us to the next level. But your leadership role and everything else that you've had throughout your career, I think, culminated, in my opinion, I don't know, you tell me, but the terrorist attack in Garland, Texas, the drawing of the prophet, it made national news. You guys were out there for a long time. You guys did a phenomenal job dealing with that situation. I know there was a lot of back and forth, probably stuff you don't want to get into, but I know that your leadership role in that incident prevailed. Not only that, but you guys have some excellent officers in Garland. That's not to diminish any communities or our own. You guys just have good officers. That's why the criminals know that they can come to Dallas and commit a crime and don't step on the borders of Garland. But do you mind talking about that?
Yeah, no, that was a there was an event that event happened in May. What a lot of people don't realize is there was an event in January. It was called Stand with the Prophet, and that was kind of the catalyst for this whole thing, because at the Stand with the Prophet, they had these events all over the country. No big deal. It was Sound Vision was, I think, the name of the company that put them on. They had done them all over. We've done it. We did our homework there. Hey, yeah, they've had these all over. There's been no big deal. Well, in this particular case, one of the speakers, or the guest speaker, the keynote speaker, was a non-indicted co-conspirator from the World Trade Center bombing in '93. So the Culwell Center is a school district building. It's not a city building. And they do, volleyball tournaments. Now it's even a bigger venue. They do concerts. Graduations is the big thing they do there. But school district building, so there's a lot of activity. So, the soccer moms got pretty excited when they found out the non-indicted co-conspirator was going to be there. Well, there were so many protesters. They had like Facebook groups of different, stand against the Stand with the Prophet event. There was even one, it was, the actual name of the group was Fuck the Islamic event in Garland. And people were signing up. Like, you go on Facebook and you have your little group and how many people are coming. And we're keep track of the numbers, and it's getting up there. I mean, we're starting to go like, okay, this is going to be kind of a big deal here. So if you've ever been to the Culwell Center, across the street is a Hyatt Hotel. Well, there's a big, huge parking lot across the street. Well, we figured, okay, we'll put the protesters there. And there was over 2,000 of them. I mean, and they were all in this parking lot. And I knew we were, I say in trouble, is probably not the right word, but I knew it was going to be a big deal when people would call them and go, hey, do you allow tailgating? We're like, what are you talking about? Tailgating, can we tailgate? Yeah, I mean, I guess you can tailgate in the parking lot. Well, they showed up with smokers, and they're smoking pigs on the back, and they're having a bacon cooking contest. And one of the speakers was Pamela Geller. And she shows up and does she was obviously against the event. So she has does a speaking engagement right there in the parking lot. And then right after that, she says, hey, can anybody rent this building? And they went, why, sure. Well, I want to have an event. Well, what event would you like to have? Well, I'd like to have a Draw with the Prophet event. You want to have a what? So she paid a lot. I think it was $40,000 for security. A lot. It was a lot. So this event kicks. At the time we had a real forward-thinking captain, Captain Brown, and he said, "Hey, plan this thing like it's going to happen, and use everybody." And this was early, real early, and I'm glad we did that because we started very early. And so this thing's going on, and it's getting to the point we're starting to get closer to the deal, and everybody thinks, well, she hadn't paid yet, so the thinking started to be, well, she's not going to pay, she's going to go find someplace else. I'm like, no. Of course, we started following her on Twitter, we started following her on Facebook. Instagram wasn't a thing yet, and she had some backing, so I'm like, no, this lady's got backing, she's going to come here. I said, if you have a wedding, your daughter gets married and you have a wedding, and you schedule the wedding, you don't pay up front for the wedding, right? You pay like right at the last minute.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I said, okay, well, that's exactly what she's going to do. No, I don't think she's going to come. I'm like, you're underestimating this lady. I'm telling you, she's coming. And then sure enough, 2 weeks later, bam, pays for it. And then we have it. So for us, in our planning, we sat down, the SWAT lieutenants, the bomb lieutenant, we started looking at events across the nation. Well, there had been 2 other Draw the Prophet type event. Well, Charlie Hebdo was first. Then there was another one in the Netherlands where it was the same. It was very creepy. For my master's, I did a paper on it, and it was very creepy because it was just like this one. It was like they had different speakers. They had like table set up. It was like a round robin type deal, all talking about this Draw the Prophet stuff. And a guy showed up and tried to kill the artist, didn't, and he ended up getting killed. But when we started doing our intel gathering, we realized pretty quick, hey, look, every time somebody does one of these Draw the Prophet things, guys show up with AKs and start shooting people. So we need to be, kind of prepared for that. And it was kind of like, I really don't think that's going to happen. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, we need to be prepared for that. Because again, one of the things I've learned is, preparation is not overreaction. Preparation is preparation. And if you prepare for an event, and nothing happens, well, you don't lose out. You've prepared, and things that you thought were going to work may not work. It's better to do it there when nothing happens and go, hey, we thought I could make a phone call and we can get all these resources.
Yeah, you learn.
Guess what? No, we can't. So now we need to figure out another way. And we had lessons from that. I mean, we thought we had a pretty good plan. It worked out, but there's still things that we learned. And I'll get to those here in a second. But so we started planning, and a lot of it was the terrorism stuff was just starting to kind of kick around. It wasn't here yet. So everything was more like, oh, that's happening overseas. It's not happening here. It's overseas. So when it did happen, I remember having a discussion with some of our admin, and they're like, well, hey, do we have a chase car? And I'm like, a chase car for what? Well, in case they come by, they shoot up and they drive away. I go, okay, these people are not going to drive away. They are going to stop, get out of the car. They're going to kill as many people as they can until we kill them. That's what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with Johnny Gangbanger. We're dealing with terrorists, and that's what they're going to do. So, and of course, that's exactly what they did do. And, one of the things that, and like you said earlier, I mean, that event we started like probably 8 o'clock in the morning. We didn't get done till 4 the next morning. I mean, it was a long day with the terrorists. And then we thought we had a car bomb. We had to do the bomb. The TBT guys did a great job doing that. And one of the things we learned was, that morning we got everybody fed. We want to get Chick-fil-A. So here's just put this in your pocket for later. So Chick-fil-A obviously is closed on Sunday. This event was on Sunday. We wanted Chick-fil-A, but we couldn't get Chick-fil-A. So we ordered Whataburger. Everybody got a number 1. You didn't want the lettuce, you took the lettuce off. The problem was now this event had gone into the night and into almost the next day, and we needed to get food. So we didn't know where we're going to get food. So it was kind of funny. Myself and the other lieutenant are like, gee, where are we going to go? What are we going to get? We can't go here. We can't go there. We can't go to the drive-thru now and go, hey, I need 100 number 1s. They're going to be like, it's going to take forever. So one of our guys, and this is kind of another leadership lesson, junior guy goes, kind of overhears us, goes, hey, sir, when we were in the frat house, we just ordered pizza. We're like, what did you say? He goes, when we were in the frat house, college, we just ordered pizza. I go, man, that's a great idea. I go, how many pizzas do you think we need? He goes, how many guys we got? So I start counting. I quit counting like at about 70. He goes, I don't know, 20 larges ought to do it. I'm like, okay, you got your P card with you? Yeah. I said, okay, go get a car and go get pizza. And he took off. I don't know whose car he took. I have no idea. I know he probably stole one because we didn't have cars where we were at. So he stole somebody's car and went to Sally's Pizza and walks. And he's dressed in all his SWAT gear. He didn't change out. He walks in and got it on the TV. And They look at him. They look at the TV. Go, hey, you're the guys from the deal. He goes, yeah. Hey, you want a beer? He goes, nah, I gotta kind of go back. I gotta get some pizza. So how many do you need? I need 20 larges. Okay, hey, lock the door. So they lock the door. He sits there. They make 20 pizzas. He goes, sure you don't want a beer? He goes, no, I'd love to. Maybe when we're done, but I can't right now. So they gave him 20 pizzas. Didn't charge us. We got them a plaque. And he came back, and we got everybody fed. Well, at the end of the event, of course, there's debriefs all over the place, right? Everybody's having a debrief. We have one with the city. Well, one of the city people who's over the emergency operations center is like, well, for the emergency operations center, there's a logistics person, and you call the logistics person, and you fill out the card. And then I'm like, ma'am, look, we don't have time for that. There's no time for that. Well, I go, look, I know how the system works. We fill out the card. We say we need food, and the logistics guy gives it to the incident commander, and you send us food. I go, we didn't have time for that. He goes, well, what did you do? I sent one of my guys to go get pizza. Well, how'd that work? I said, it worked great. You walk in with a machine gun, you pretty much get whatever you want. So, it worked great for us. But the lesson we learned was, hey, day goes into night, and we may have you fed in the beginning, but you may not get fed later. So now we are self-contained. Anytime we do an operation, anytime we do something along those lines, we have a cooler with the drinks and snacks and stuff. So we are self-contained because we don't know when we're going to get fed, and you may not get fed like real food. So, we fill up the cooler, and now we're self-sustained. So, a lot of things went into that. We went to a PRSBI class, Prevention Response to Suicide Bombing in New Mexico Tech. I think a lot of you guys have gone. It's great. It's free. Look it up for those interested. It's free. The government pays for all of it, and it's a really interesting class. And that helped us with the barricades. We had barricades set up. We had a cordon. We had a lot of safety protocols in place that we learned from that class. And these guys showed up. It's kind of funny. The officer that was posted at the west entrance was a late addition. He wasn't initially on it. It was just going to be the unarmed guy was going to be there. And this guy kind of came late. I go, hey, just go over there to the west entrance. It's going to be real boring. You just got to let in, the caterer, the guest speaker. It's going to be real quiet. Of course, then the two guys from Phoenix show up. And all day long, they've been telling people, everybody's trying to stop there and park. And he says, no, you can't park here. You got to go down there. Well, these guys pull up. The security guy goes up there, and the guy just jumps out with an AK, starts shooting at him. He takes off running because he don't have a gun. And then the officer starts shooting. The other guy gets out. They start shooting. Then the SWAT guys roll up. So they're getting shot up pretty good. The last guy's moving around. They think he has some kind of device. So they, based on the suicide bomber training, shoot that guy in the head and stops the threat. So then they thought they may have devices. They thought the vehicle had devices, so they used the what do they call it? Extraction tool was the word they used for the trunk. And turns out there were no explosives. But the good thing was we planned for that, and we played it out. And that's one of the things. Another planning lesson is, you treat it like it is until it's not. Once the SWAT team gets out there, or you go to a call and it's, hey, there's a guy with a gun. Well, there's a guy with a gun until there isn't a guy with a gun. And the minute you try to explain it away, that's when you get yourself in trouble. It is. That's one of my things. Hey, it is till it's not. If SWAT gets called out on a barricaded person and we think the person's in there, we have no contact. Well, then they're in there until the team goes in there, clears the whole place, and says, house is empty, which has happened before. But you got to play it for real. That's why they send you to all this training, and they send you to all these schools to have these skills, is to use these skills. So,
which goes back to what you were saying before,
right?
You're training for real life,
right? And the guys. The good thing for me was I didn't have to tell the guys when the shooting started. Our plan was, hey, if something happens, we're going to move the attendees into the auditorium, the big stadium area. I didn't have to go, hey, move the hostages to it was already done because everybody knew the plan, even down to the lowest guy. So, if, God forbid, everybody got killed except for the lowest guy knew the plan, and he could execute the plan. And you have to do that. Everybody needs to know the plan. Everybody needs to know the job of the person above them because they may have to take over. And that's one thing I don't think we do a good job with in law enforcement is preparing, like mentoring and preparing somebody to take over for us. I mean, I've seen it in my department, in other departments. There's the guy, right? There's the guy that does widgets. And the guy's been doing widgets for 20 years, and he's the best. He's the widget expert. Well, the problem is nobody else knows how to do that. Well, guess what? Widget guy's going to retire someday. He's going to leave, and now who's going to take over? And now you have this vacuum. Instead of, bringing these people along and training them and giving them an opportunity to excel or not, because you may think that, hey, I'm going to be the widget guy. Look, dude, you're not the widget guy. You want to be the widget guy, but you're not. You may be something else, but you're not that. And those conversations need to happen as well. But you need a mentor. And that's one good thing, at least from the SWAT side, is we try to mentor those guys. You give them responsibilities, equal to their abilities. And then you start giving them more and more and more. And then you start making them responsible for more things. Well, then everybody can do everybody's job. And then when somebody's sick or they're out or they're retire, you don't have that huge gap of, oh crap, what are we going to do now? We don't have somebody to do that. Well, who used to do that? Johnny used to do that, but Johnny's not here anymore.
Dan, what I don't know how you guys had it set up, and I'm sure that thing unveiled itself pretty quickly. At what point did you know about all that? I mean, were you in a position where you could hear the gunfire, or was there radio chatter, or was it just the reactionary?
Actually, the GISD was there. They had cameras, and they were closer. They had cameras all around the building, and they had cameras in where she was doing her deal. And I was in there watching, and she had just, it's so ironic. She just said, "Thank you all for coming. Have a good night. Be careful going to the parking lot." And I remember walking out of the room going, "Okay, hey, she's done. Let's get these people out of here and let's go." And right after that I couldn't hear the gunfire, but it was shots fired, officer down, west entrance. And I'm like, oh shit. So I immediately, I'm in the auditorium, and that's where I was. We were kind of in the back. Ran out, ran up the hill. By the time I got there, the terrorists are dead. Another funny thing is, so Rick Cutler, Irving was, we had them on standby to come help us. And I think we had you guys were to cover, like if something happened, hey, they're going to come help us. You cover the city, kind of a thing. And then he had called me and said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Nothing's going on." Well, then right after that, he called me and he goes, "Is everything good?" I go, "No, it's not." I said, "I got 2 dead terrorists and a possible car bomb. I need you to get to Garland right now." He goes, "Stop fucking with me." I'm like, "I am not fucking with you. You need to get here right now." And so the good thing, going back to TTPOA training and all that, well, he knew where the station was. He knew where the fire admin was because we'd done training there. So they knew exactly where to go, and they got there. And then we started immediately, hey, we think they have devices. We think the car's rigged. And I remember we're on the bear camp. We're backing up. And I look at Tank and I go, "Hey, are we far enough back?" And because the parking lot kind of slopes down, he goes, "No." I go, "Can we get farther back?" He goes, "No." I go, "So we're pretty much screwed?" He goes, "Yeah, if that car blows up, we're pretty much dead." Okay, well, we can't go anywhere. We can't leave. So I mean, we're kind of screwed right where we are. So we do that. We let the snipers on the roof of the Hyatt kind of cover them, and we get back as far as we can get. And then it goes, and that's when I knew, okay, things have just taken a turn here, and this is going to be a much bigger deal than it was before. No, yeah, it's global now for sure. Global for sure.
Whenever that happened, when you had 2 down suspects, were y'all thinking? I mean, I'm sure y'all did, about extra threats that were there that y'all didn't know about, because it's rare for just 2 show up.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, we actually thought that was like a what's the word I'm looking for?
Diversion?
A diversion. Yeah. We thought that was a diversion. We thought, okay, that's not going to be it. There's going to be more. They're going to come from somewhere else. We actually, because the Colasanto Center backs up to the Spring Creek Reserve. It's all wooded area, walking trail. So we actually shifted our perimeter to face back that way because we thought, okay, hey, that's what's happening. They did a little diversion here. They're going to come through the woods. They're going to try to come through the back. And again, you talk about training, you talk about guys taking initiative. We had a SWAT guy who was in patrol at the time. He wasn't at the event. He wasn't assigned to the event. Well, of course, you know how it is. Everybody wants to come and help, right? So these patrolmen rally up, and they're going to come. They're going to try to come and help us. Well, they're coming through that tree line that we're looking at, and this guy has enough snap to be. He's listening to our channel. We were on the SWAT channel. They were on the regular channel, and we see them moving, and one of our guys goes, "Hey, I got movement in the tree line. Here they come." And we're like, "Okay, here it comes." And then that guy heard that, and he goes, he tells them, "Hey, wait a minute." He goes, "Did you tell them we were coming?" They go, No, we're just going to help." He goes, "No, stop right now. Stop. Do not go that way." And he gets on the radio. He goes, "Hey, don't shoot in the tree line. It's us. We were coming to." So you talk about avoiding blue on blue. That was a perfect one there. And even when the shooting of the bad guys was happening, we had a guy who had gone to 7-Eleven to get a drink and was coming back. Well, by the time he's coming back, we're looking right at him. So the SWAT guys actually shift around to get at, because it's, hey, he's not supposed to be there, but okay, he's not supposed to be there, but he's there, right? We're just not going to start throwing rounds down range. We're going to move to where we get a better backstop. So they're thinking about those things, but that comes from training. You just, that's not a first day thing. Hey, we just, you just throw that guy out there with no training. No, they had training, and they were quick to realize, hey, wait a minute, that guy's not supposed to be there. He is there. I'm not going to bitch about him being there. I'm just going to shift my position to where now, I have a better angle and a safer angle.
Yeah. So as a commander for that incident, as you look back, how do you feel? That's not the right question. I guess from your perspective as a leader, how did that make you feel, knowing that you're not only your training, but the same stuff you've instilled in everybody? Just, it happened. It was taken care of, just like you've been saying over and over again. You trust your people to do their job, and y'all had a plan. How does that make you feel when you look back at that?
It was pretty good. It was a good feeling. The guys performed magnificent. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I tell people, throughout, when I've done this debrief, they knew what to do. But we trained that. Mm-hmm. We trained them, and they knew what to do. I didn't have to tell them what to do. And one of the cool things was during this deal, our assistant chief, who was over it, was brand new, no SWAT experience, nothing. His first deal.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to SWAT. And he's our big chief now, Chief Brian. And we met. Chaos is, things are just crazy. They're, and we just happened to meet face to face. And he's just like, "Hey, I have no idea what to do. I need your help." I'm like, "Hey, sir, look, we got this. We got these people are safe. Everything's locked down. We'll give you tell me what you want done. We'll give you recommendations. We'll pick a course of action. We'll do it. We got it." And he trusted us to do that. He did not. He did. He trusted. Again, it's kind of you're coming from the top down now, but he let us do. He had faith. He knew we knew what we were doing, because he had come. He'd seen us train, and since that incident has come out before to watch us train, do explosive breaching and other things, because when the event is going on, that's not the time to be schooling them on what you're doing. You do not have time for that, But he trusted us to do what we needed to do. He knew we were trained, and he let us do it. And I have a lot of respect for him because of that, because other people in his position might not have done that.
Lieutenant Dan, what is the one skill that you don't have that you wish you did?
Oh, man. There's a lot of those. I don't run fast. I've never run fast. When I was in the Army, I was at Fort Knox. I was trying out for Ranger School, because in the armor branch, they only had a certain number of slots. So running was a big deal, and I just could not run fast. And I actually one of my DPE, Department of Physical Education instructors from West Point, was there at Fort Knox, and I'm like, "Sir, what do I do? I can't." And he goes, well, how much you weigh? And back then, I was like 185. I go, 185. He's like, okay. He goes, every time you run, 185 pounds is coming down on your knees. He goes, Dan, it's like this. Some people are built to run, and some people aren't. You aren't. Just the way it is. So I think.
So you wish you were a better runner?
Yeah, I don't run very well. Now I really don't run well at all. I probably, and I don't know if this is bad, but sometimes I should probably shut up instead of. I speak my mind sometimes.
The skill of keeping your mouth shut.
Yeah, I don't. Sometimes it's good, but sometimes it's not.
I have to know this too. Has the caliber, the personality, the skill level of SWAT operators, has it changed over the years? And how?
Yeah, I think now they are responsible for a lot more stuff. When I started, you did drug warrants and you did barricades. That's it, pretty much. If you were, for us, we didn't have, you weren't going to special events. We weren't doing any kind of dignitary protection stuff. Not like you guys did, because president stuff coming. Nobody like that comes to Garland, but or we haven't had that. But now, after, especially with the terrorism stuff and everything else going on, now your high risk warrants, your barricades, your riots, your dignitary protection, your event security, your every other break glass in case of emergency thing that the chief wants you to do, because inevitably what happens is, well, who are we going to get to do that? Man, I don't. That's what the SWAT guys do. They'll do it. So yeah, I think they're responsible for a lot more stuff now. They have to do more, which makes it hard for training because you have limited training time, you have limited training days, so you're having to cover more things. But I think what's hard now is finding people that want to do it. Just not like it used to be. They just don't, for whatever reason. To me, that was my goal number one. I just wanted to be on SWAT. In my oral board, I even said that. Hey, what do you want to do? All I know is I want to be on SWAT. And I remember because the two guys at the head of the table, one was in a uniform, one was in plainclothes, and I thought the uniform guy was like, you trying to figure out like who's running the show. I thought the uniform guy was running the show until I said, I just want to be on SWAT. And then that other guy just lifted his Commander Rex Plumley, and he lifted his head up and he just looked at me, and I'm like, okay, no, that guy is in charge. He's the guy. And he was over SWAT. But I think that's the challenge now is, and that's across the board of everybody we talk to, TTPOA, just they're having tryouts and people just aren't wanting to do it. You have hard questions.
I know,
Go back to Josh. No, I'm just kidding.
We've talked a lot about SWAT, but you got a lot of young officers listening. You got a lot of seasoned officers that have no interest in SWAT.
Right.
And then you have a lot of civilians. Give me a quick recipe on how to improve weapon skills for them out there listening.
Okay, that's
that
easy.
they can do on their own.
Finally, easy.
Okay,
God,
sorry.
you've been asking some. No, it's
I
okay.
gotta challenge you.
It's okay. It's okay.
Don't dig into his emotions.
Yeah.
Speak about bullets and firearms.
Yeah.
Make it easy.
Yeah, going back to the skill I don't have. I'm not a touchy-feely guy. I don't do well with that. We can. I'll hug you.
Okay.
So the best
hug?
thing to do.
No?
No, I don't like you like that. Is dry fire practice. I preach it. Every class I'm in, I've taught dry fire practice. Every day I do, and you can ask, you can check, you can come by my house, you see me in the morning. My neighbors all know I do it. My wife knows I do it. Everybody, I put a target up. I got a target up on the garage door on the inside. I do 10 aim fires, 10 ready positions, 10 draws, 10 reloads every morning. And if you do that, and especially now because I know ammo is expensive and it's hard to get out there. If you do that, your skill level will increase. Now, obviously, for those that have the little red dots on their pistols now, the red dot's a good tool because it tells you when you're messing up. It moves, right? You think you have rocks. When I first started doing red dot, because I have to do that now because my eyes are horrible. I can't see sights anymore. So
Father time.
Yeah, father time. So it's definitely a good tool for that if your eyesight's getting a little, not as good as it used to be. But the dot will tell on you. It'll tell if you're, you're moving the gun with your hands, with your grip. So dry fire for sure. And then you go out to the range and kind of validate what you've been doing. You don't need like to go out to the range and shoot 1,000,000 rounds. If you have 50 rounds, you can do that. At Mid-South, we used to call it the graduation program. And it was all those basic skills. It was aim, fire, single shots from the ready, 2 shots from the ready, single shots from the holster, and reloads. And you could do that with 50 rounds. Easy. If you do each one of those twice, you're almost to 50. Then you can go back and work on, what you weren't good at, which for me is strong hand only, sport hand only. I really suck at that. I just, and distance was something I wasn't really good at. I've gotten better because I've been practicing it a lot. So, and don't think that changing the gun is going to make a difference. It may, depending what gun you have, but if you have horrible trigger control with, a Glock, and you buy this fancy 1911 because you think that it's going to be better, if your trigger control sucks, it's going to suck. So work on that. It's the archer, not the arrow. Usually, because everybody will. One thing I learned from Rob Latham: first thing you do is blame the gun. The gun's messed up, but it is the first thing you blame. But it's usually not the thing. It's usually the shooter that's messing up. But dry fire practice for sure. Get you a little timer, pack timer, set the par time, and get after it.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you. I'd love to sit and talk to you, but thank you for improving me. You did.
Well, you listen though. And
you're a great instructor.
Well, thank you.
And you've touched, like Josh said, you've touched so many officers. I don't even think you realize how many officers you've touched. But the thing is, and this is my last pet peeve thing. So, as an instructor, you're like the doctor, right? You go to the doctor because your nose is stuffy and you're blowing green stuff out of your nose, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor says you have a sinus infection. Take this antibiotic. Now, after a couple of days, you're going to start to feel better, but finish the antibiotic. Don't stop taking it. It's the same thing. You're going to get instruction. You're going to do things. You're going to start to have success. You're going to practice, and you're going to get better. If you stop doing that, then it's just going to go back. It's a perishable skill. That's why the dry fire is important. It's free. It's in your garage. Set up a target. The cool thing is your neighbors will not come talk to you. I actually had neighbors years ago. We had this little block party thing, and the people, I didn't think anybody was watching. But they were like 2 houses back. They had a set 2-story, and when I opened the garage, they would watch me do my dry fire practice. And it became like a family event. Like, hey, he's out there again. And they all come to the window. And the guy told me, he goes, oh, hey, yeah, you're the officer. I go, oh, yeah, you've seen the squad car? He goes, oh, no. He goes, you do the gun stuff and at such and such a time. And we all come watch. I go, what? He goes, oh, yeah, it's like a family deal. It's like, oh, he's back there again. We think it's the coolest thing ever. So, but, they never bother me. So it was good. But
I wonder why.
Yeah. The only guy I ever had come talk to me was, and they moved. It was my right next door neighbor, and he was a World War II veteran, and he would come by and he'd talk to me, and oh, that's cool, and but everybody else just kind of looked at me and waved. So, but the thing is, you guys listen. I mean, and I most of the people listen, and then they, they'll come back for a second round later on, and I'll remind them like, oh yeah. I go, well, I told you the last time, and then the challenge is when those people don't listen. You got to kind of cut them loose. You can only take them so far. And, in my classes, I'll get to the point where, hey, look, I can't sit here and just tell you all the time. I have other people I need to go help. If you're not going to listen to me, and I can by this time now, my career, I figured it out. You're not listening to me, I'm not talking to you anymore. You're just going to suffer in silence. I'm just come down here and help people who want to be helped. And that's what you got.
Awesome. Dan, we want to thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking the time to share.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
We appreciate everything you've done for us, like Misty said, not just for the 2 of us, but for everything you've done for, I can't even tell you how many officers out there. But thanks again. Thank you for your service, for sure. Appreciate your leadership. It's bled over to some that are on this department. And I just can't thank you enough.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Sure, it was a good time.
Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. say, mister, I'll see this all the way through.